Hello, Todd here from FreeCoyoteHuntingGuide.com. Today I want to take a minute and talk a little bit about some tricks and tips that I've learned hunting coyotes here in Michigan. We all know that coyote hunting started out in the wild, open spaces of the West, but when you're hunting in the thick cover, in the thick woods, it helps to have a few, it helps to know a few little tricks and tips. So let's take a minute here. These are 10 of them that I've learned over the last several years, and they've really helped out with my success when I'm hunting coyotes in the thick cover. So let's take a minute and take a look at them. Okay, tip number one, use an electronic collar. Place your collar 30 to 50 yards behind you. A coyote is not going to come in from where you just walked in, and for some reason coyotes always seem to have a margin of safety built in when they're approaching the call. You know, granted, some coyotes will just come charging in, but more times than not they'll stay you know, what they feel a safe distance away until they can confirm what their ears are hearing. And sometimes in these conditions, you know, when it's real thick, even a few yards can make the difference between success and not seeing a coyote at all. Okay, let's go on to tip number two. Try hunting from an elevated stand. You know, you can make use of the same tree stand that you use for deer hunting. You can build yourself a little predator ladder, which can be constructed from using a 4 or 6 foot, you know, wooden step ladder. Attach a bucket, swivel seat to the top, and throw on some camouflage paint, and you have a portable hunting platform. A ladder really works great in the early season with the tall grass and brush, and a ladder will really greatly improve your sight distance. Of course, you want to check your local and your state hunting laws on hunting from an elevated platform. Tip number three, don't sit up in the field, sit up in the woods. A lot of eastern coyote hunters sit up to call across an open field in an effort to call coyotes, you know, out from the woods into the open area. This is not always the easiest thing to do. Coyotes don't, you know, they really don't like to expose themselves when they have some protective cover, and you got to remember what's usually to your advantage is to the disadvantage of the coyote. Oftentimes they will, you know, sit back 20 to 30 yards into the cover and never expose themselves at the wood line. So instead, set up just inside the tree line. Tip number four, be patient. If you're hunting wide open spaces, you can see coyotes coming in from, you know, a long way off. You can't do that in the thick stuff. You can't see what's out there, and neither can the coyote. Coyotes, they move a lot slower and with more caution in the thick cover. Remember, they're trying to confirm with their nose and eyes what their ears are telling them. So short 15-minute stands might work out west, but excuse me, when you're hunting in a thick cover, you should plan to sit at least 30 minutes or longer. You'll be surprised how many coyotes come in after the 30-minute mark. Tip number five, use a combination of an electronic call and a hand call. Sometimes different sounds coming from two different locations just seem to confuse coyotes enough where they throw caution to the wind and come charging in. And I find this works out in those areas where you might have some call shy coyotes, or, you know, areas that you know there's coyotes there, you see the signs, but for some reason you just can't call them in. Sometimes this trick will do the job. Tip number six, get territorial. Coyotes in thick cover can be very territorial. You know, they tend to have smaller home ranges and territories, and if you happen to be invading their home turf, they'll often take action to protect their food sources. So use coyote vocalizations to provoke a response, and then once you get a response, ratchet up the aggression, and especially during the mating season. Tip number seven, use game trails and easy access routes. Coyotes are like most animals. You know, they usually prefer the path of least resistance, so you position your calling to allow a coyote easy access to your shooting lanes. And if you're using an electronic collar, place it near a game trail or a lane. Tip number eight, hunt with a partner. Position your partner to cover the back door. Coyotes will often circle just out of view as they work their way downwind of the sound. So if you position your partner to cover the downwind side, you know, it's best if they sit behind to the right or to the left, depending on the wind direction. And always, for the sake of safety, make sure everyone knows the exact position of each hunter. and you want to define the shooting parameters of each hunter. A lot of times the guy downwind will be the guy that gets the coyote. Tip number 9, turn up the volume. It's all right to start out calling with a low volume. Coyotes, they can be close in the thick stuff, and you don't want to spook them with some unexpected ear-shattering noise. If nothing happens in the first 10 to 15 minutes, don't be afraid to crank up the volume. Sound really doesn't travel that far in the thick woods as compared to the wide open areas, and this is especially true with a little wind and some leaves on the trees. A few hundred yards in heavy cover is much different than a few hundred yards out in the wide open spaces. And finally, tip number 10, be ready to bark. It can happen in a flash. You can't see the coyote coming, it's too thick, and all of a sudden a coyote suddenly appears and it's on the move. You have a limited shooting opportunity. A few more steps and the coyote disappeared, never to be seen again. So be prepared to stop a coyote instantly, and probably the best hunting tip for the thick stuff is to use a loud bark the second you see that coyote and get ready to shoot. A lot of times that'll do the trick. So, well, I hope some of these tips help you out with your success. That's it for the day. You can also get some more information. I give away a free guide. All you have to do is go over to freecoyotehuntingguide.com and pick up your free guide today. Thanks for listening.